Hey, what's up guys, Designer Jen here, and in today's tutorial we're going to learn how to design a laser cut box. This is something that I do a lot. Very useful little tutorial here. Hopefully it's not going to be too long, but let's just get started. So if you're thinking about making some sort of box, you have a box here. You want to be able to laser cut it, right? A couple things that we have to know, of course, is material thickness, right? As always, since we're dealing with with an actual, physical piece of material that we're going to be actually cutting this thing out of. A couple other things that we have to understand are, of course, the dimensions. How wide is this? How tall is this? And how deep is this? And once we have that understanding, we can create pretty much any kind of box that we would want to make. Also, the material that you're going to be making this out of, it probably should have some sort of rigidity. It should hold its shape. So before we get started, you should probably think about, how am I going to actually make this? What materials am I going to use, and such. And that's going to help to sort of influence some of the parameters that we'll deal with, especially the curve and adjusting for the tightness of fit if you're going to make something press fit. Pretty much the way this happens, generally speaking, is when you see a laser cut box, it's going to have some sort of almost like a box joint situation that's going to be going on here. And if I'm to sort of draw this, I'm not the best using this program, but oh well, here we go. But pretty much our edges are going to look a little bit like this, and this right here is sort of the key to making a nice box, is getting this right, getting the tightness right. And we're going to see in this tutorial sort of how to do that. So let's jump right into Inkscape. We're going to jump right into Inkscape right here. And again, I've set my page dimensions here to 30 by 20 by a 1/4 inch. That's pretty much the 30 by 20 is the material size that I'm going to be using when I'm designing this. I mean, our design's probably not going to take up the full 20 by 30 or 30 by 20. But this is pretty much the laser cutter I use. Generally has like 32 by 20 inch bed area, cutting area, and the materials that I use, the best way to cut the materials I use is to 30 by 20. So you can sort of use most of the space. Anyways, talked about that in the last tutorial about why that's important. Why the bed size, and actually putting this on my page is important. By the way, if you want to do it really quickly, again, you can just go to document properties. Why is it over there? And you can set whatever document size that you want. This is Inkscape. If you're working in Illustrator or something like that, it might be different. Now, when we're designing a box, it's going to have 6 sides. Typically, you could make a box of any sort of number of sides if you'd like to. But in this tutorial, we're going to make something that has 6 sides. And it's kind of interesting. The way that I like to design my boxes is with 3 sort of unique sides. When you design 3 unique sides, you don't have to, sit there and design 6, individual unique sides. You can design just 3, and then you can duplicate your design, and you'll have your 6 sides. And we're going to call this one right here, let's say this is side 1. That's 1. Oops, that's not 1. And then we have their sides 2. And we have our side, our side 3 here. And in this diagram right here is showing something that's very interesting. So when you're dealing with a laser cut box, you'll generally speaking, you're going to have some sort of pin and socket situation. Let's say if I wanted this entire thing to be, you know, 3. In this case, this box is 3 by 3. We're going to design this actual box just a little bit later, but let's say that this is 3 by 3. We're going to design 2 boxes today. And let's say this is 3 by 3. What you see here is you see this is the actual size of one of the sides I'm going to make, and you might wonder, why is this smaller? Well, if you think about it, since we're dealing with physical material, these sides are going to overlap just a bit, right? Well, this side, I'll say, let's go here. Let's see, this side right here and this side are going to overlap, and I'm going to have some sort of, we can't take this here. I'm going to have some sort of socket. Let's turn the color. Some sort of socket sitting in here, right? That's going to allow this piece to fit into there. And on this piece, we have some sort of pin. And if I were to design this box, right? If I were to design this piece at 3 by 3, you can sort of see it's 2.5 by 3 here. If I design this width right here as 3 inches, what I'm going to have is this piece sitting out here, and then this right here obviously would not be. You wouldn't see this line right here. You would just see this. But the problem with that is that now, if I were to, let's say, even though I've just done this to one of these sides here, it's about 3.25. It's about 3.25 inch. And that's too big. That's beyond the dimensions. So in order to keep our dimensions, we're going to have to do something. We're going to have to delete. We're going to have to look at pretty much the sides that we want to make and take one of the sides and reduce it by 1/4 inch. And since we're doing sort of a regular shape here, we're going to reduce it by 1/4 inch on either side. And so we're going to have, you know, the main rectangle here being, in this case, 2.5 inches wide, so that I can go ahead and add that pin on either side to get that nice 3-inch dimension there, and therefore it'll fit because I'll put the socket right on this one and on both sides, and then those two sides will fit together nicely. But yeah, so that's pretty much why we're going to do this like this. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing. Anyways, so the first box that we're going to design is going to be, I have the 6 by 4 inches by 2 inches, and we're going to say this is going to have no top. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take one of these guys right here, and we're just going to duplicate this. Control C, Control V here. There we go. Now we have this thing. Let's go ahead and set one of these sides. Again, we said we have 3 unique different sides that we're going to use. So with this one, I'm going to say 6 by 4. That seems like a fairly easy way to start here. 6 inches wide. Actually, we're going to make this 2. We're going to do the 6 by 2 first. 6 inches by 2 inches, just like so. I'm going to make another copy of this. And this one, we're going to make 4 by 2. Now, you can probably see what's going on here. We're going to make the third one, it's just going to be 6 by 4. And we're going to let me move this text off the page. You don't need it anyway, just yet. So these are our 3 unique sides. And this is pretty interesting. In my case, the way that I want to do this is the height here is the 2 inches, and the 6 by 4 is sort of the width and the length or the depth. And what we're going to do here is you can sort of see this side right here might be the front end, right? And this right here might be one of the sides, like the left or the right side. This could be the front or the back. And this piece right here, this is going to be the bottom or the top of the box. So great, we have our basic shapes designed. Now, what we're going to have to do, we're still going to have to sort of use this sort of technique, you know, and sort of reduce some of the dimension so that we can add these pins, since we're doing this sort of box joint situation on, or you know, mating technique for these sides. So let's go ahead and we can start. Let's start to do that right here. For this 6x2 inch, I'm going to say that this one right here, this is my front side, so I want it to be sort of as aesthetic as possible. The way I think about it, I don't think that these edges will look quite as good, so we're not going to put any of them on the front or the back. So we're not going to have any of these edges. So pretty much this is going to be sort of a side 3 style situation here. So we're going to keep that just like that. The next one right here, this is the left and the right side, not the front and the back. And for these, I'm going to say, you know what? I don't mind if they have a little bit of this sort of edge going on here. So what we're going to do is we're going to reduce the width of that, because I'm dealing with 1/4 inch. We're going to reduce the width minus 0.2. Actually, minus 0.5. Actually, not 0.25. Minus 0.5, or 2 times the thickness of the material that I'm going to be using. Pretty much creating this for this box dimension. So right here, this thing is now 3.5 by 2 inches. Not too bad. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at the bottom. So we have one that's sort of this side 3. And by the way, I think I'm going to switch this up. I'm going to call this one. Oops. I think I'm going to call this one a side 1, and then call this a side 3. How about that? That seems like a little bit better. You know, going from most aesthetic to least aesthetic. So we're going to switch that up just right quick. Sorry for that. So good, we have this. So this is my side 1. This is my side 2. Now this is side 3 because this is 6x4. When we need to reduce both sides by 2 times the thickness of our material, we're just going to go ahead and subtract 0.5 from the width and minus 0.5 from the height. And now look at that. Not too bad. Again, you see this is 3.5 by 5.5. Obviously not the dimension that we want. But we're going to counteract that. We're going to sort of bring that size back up by adding our tabs or our pins. Now to make our pins, fairly simple. We're just going to go ahead and we're just going to draw a nice rectangle. Again, the driving dimension on this is going to be this height here, 0.25, or my material thickness. Now the width, you know what? It all depends on the aesthetic that you want to create. What we're going to do here, so I'm going to make my width, let's say 0.6. That's my tab or my pin. This is a good pin. Now what we're going to do is, because we've talked about press fit design, what we really want to do is we want to have a complementary pin and socket situation where where we account for the thickness of the laser width or the curve of the laser in order for us to make a nice tight snug fit in our box. We want this to be press fit. We want it to be able to be assembled without the use of adhesives, glues of any kind. Not to say that you don't want to use them for some applications, but we want to be able to make it so that we don't have to do that. So I'm going to duplicate this guy, and so what we're going to do is this right here. So this guy right here, this is going to be my pin. This one right here is going to be in my socket. So for my socket, I'm just going to go ahead and subtract just a hair, minus 0.02. Now if I were to take this, let's go ahead and arrange it so it's nice and lined up there. If you look at that, you can sort of see there's a difference in width. Now, if you're sitting here wondering, you know, which is going to go on which, this piece right here, this is going to be our socket, because we want our socket to be just a little bit smaller than our pin, so that, and the laser will take off a little bit from the socket, will actually make the socket just a little bit bigger, and it's going to make the pin just a little bit smaller. These will fit together just nicely. My going to take this whole situation here. I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to move it over. I'm going to sort of eyeball sort of where I want my socket and pin set up to be. I'm actually going to move it over here because this is sort of my widest dimension here. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to duplicate it. Not too bad. I think that's probably good enough. Move it over just so it looks fairly good. I like this. What I'm going to do here now is I'm just going to go ahead and arrange these, space them out evenly, just like so. And I'm going to go ahead and space these guys out evenly, just like so. If you check this, these guys are still all lined up nicely. I'm going to change the color of actually, let's change the color of the sockets. I'm going to change them to black. Or actually, the dark brown. Let's put them to that dark brown color we used earlier. Nice. This is good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to group each of these sets together because we want to make sure that the distance between each unit is maintained. This is great. Now pretty simply, all we need to do is we need to start adding these to the edges of our newly created boxes here. And pretty much what we're going to do is, the rule here is pretty much that these pins are going to go on our short sides, the sides that we have shortened. Our sockets are going to go onto the sides that we have not shortened. So let's start with this one, with our side 1. Side 1 has no pins, but has all sockets. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this socket situation here. And by the way, I just realized something. Or did I realize something? No, we're good. Perfect. So I'm just going to go ahead and arrange that just like that. And put that right there. Look at that. We arranged the bottom and to the center on the vertical axis. Very good. Let's go ahead and take this guy and duplicate it. We're going to rotate it 90 degrees. And when I'm looking at this, oh, I did just realize something. So I'm in a little bit of trouble here. I don't quite like this. Our pieces are sort of spaced out just a little bit too much. Look at that. We barely have any sort of, look at that. That's barely any sort of material on either side. So let's go ahead and let's reduce the width of these. Not the width of them, but the spacing of these. So I'm just going to ungroup that. And we're just going to move this guy over just a little bit more. And we are going to, actually I think we might end up, let's try to duplicate one of these. Looks pretty good. That's going to help us out a bit. Let's take this, do the same situation, space it nicely, group that, delete that because we need to replace it, duplicate this guy, center it, move it to the bottom, and now we're pretty much good. This looks a lot better. Let's go ahead and duplicate that. Let's do what we did before. Just like so. Now if you move this up here, much better. So I would probably want a little bit more material on that side, but you know what, it doesn't really matter. We're good. Let's go ahead and delete the rest of these. Very nice. We're going to move that piece from, I'm centering it on the horizontal axis and moving it flush with the edge. Duplicating this, move that flush with the edge there. And we have our first piece, our side 1. You can sort of see how it has all sockets. And by the way, this color almost simulates the look of the side when it's done. That sort of laser burned edge right there. Now we need to do our next side. Because the interaction of this bottom piece, since this is all sort of it's all composed of pins, and this is the bottom of my side 2, it looks like I'm just going to have all, looks like I'll have pretty much all sockets on this bottom side. So pretty happy with that. Let's go ahead and delete a couple of these very simply. Center, move that to the bottom, and now we have another situation where this side needs pins because we've shortened this side here. So let's go ahead and delete these guys. Let's go and do a nice center on the horizontal axis, and instead of moving this piece all the way in and centering it, you know, just like these are centered, we're going to center it to the, we're going to align it to the outside, just like so. Let's go ahead and move this over just so we can see what we're doing here. And do the same thing on the other side. Very nice. I like this. Now remember how the dimension was 6 by 4 by 2. Obviously this dimension didn't change. It's still 6 by 2. And this one was 3.5 by 2. Now we check it out. Look at that. It's 4 by 2. Exactly how we wanted it. Now you can sort of see how, you know, we're compensating by adding these pins for the extra size. Now this guy, same way. We're going to duplicate this. Let's move this down here, and we're going to center that right there. Put that on the bottom. Duplicate it. Put that on the top. We're going to duplicate this. We're going to rotate this just like so, and we're going to go ahead and try to delete a few of these things here. Now let's go ahead and center this on the the horizontal axis, and we are going to put this on the outside just like so. Duplicate again, same thing on the other side, and now look at that. Now we have pretty much what we want to deal with. Now I'm going to take these guys. We're just going to move. I'm just going to put them up here. Now this is pretty much done. Now this right here again, this right here is like an editable, easily editable thing. We don't have anything joined together yet. It's just we have some groups of some objects, but that's pretty much it. That's perfect. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to duplicate this. And now what we need to do is we need to make, sort of use our Boolean operations to sort of join these parts together. Case in point, this is going to be laser cut. It doesn't matter that it looks great right here. It matters that all these pieces are joined together properly. If I were to take this right here, quick example, let's turn these lines black, and let's turn that fill color off. Let's maybe up the line thickness here just a little bit. And okay, that's a bit thick, but you can sort of see we have a little situation going on here. If the laser cutter goes ahead and cuts this, it's going to chop all these pieces off, and I'm just going to be left with, you know, this part right here. You know, I'm not going to have these pins. These pins will be sort of cut off. So what we need to do is we need to make sure these pins are going to be properly joined to our actual panels. So in order to do that, sometimes, by the way, in Inkscape, you might just go ahead and start using Boolean operations on all these. Sometimes in Inkscape, though, sometimes even if you have it aligned properly, sometimes it doesn't. It'll merge. Let's see. Sometimes it'll merge together, but it'll still have that line. So what we're going to do is we're just going to extend these rows of pins just a little bit into the panel that we want to use. So there we go. Look at that. Everything's extended. Let's ungroup everything, and we're going to go ahead and use a Boolean operation right here. I just did the hotkey for this, the union right there. Same thing with this. Move that side in. Move that side in. Take these, ungroup them. can't merge groups. Union them with that panel. And now we have a little interesting situation. This right here is not going to really cause like too much problems. However, when you are doing laser cutting, you want to make sure that you're cutting, you know, as quickly as possible. And sometimes, as I said, how sometimes you still have those extra lines. Sometimes when you actually merge these together, you still have like a weird line that happens at the bottom of this, even though these things are justified to the edge. So in order to make sure that doesn't happen, we're going to take these sides right here and just extend them down just a little bit. Extend this over just a tad. Extend this over just a tad. Extend that down just a hair. Nice. Take all these guys. We're going to ungroup them. By the way, you could just take this guy right here, because you can only, when you're doing Boolean operations, when you're doing the difference tool, you can't, I can't subtract multiple objects at the same time from another object. Okay, it doesn't really make sense. It's not going to work. That's because I can't say I'm taking this. It doesn't know what is being subtracted from what. So it can only sort of subtract a single object from some base object. So I'm going to take this guy, path, difference. That would be pretty slow if we went all around and did this. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to take all these guys, select everything here, deselect that guy. We're going to union them together. Now this union, this group is now considered a single object. We can go ahead very easily and subtract that. Okay, same thing with this. Ungroup this, union together, and now subtract. We are pretty much done here. Okay. All we got to do now is duplicate everything. Duplicate these guys right here. And remember, we said that there was no top. That's why I didn't add the dimension. That's why I didn't add any sort of tabs up here or up there. I say tabs. I use the word tabs and pins sort of interchangeably. I used to say tabs all the time, and then I was like, you know, I think I'll use the word pins for it. I mean, it doesn't really matter. There we go. Now, that was pretty easy. Again, all we need to do now is turn this white, put this red line on it, make sure the red line is going to be very, very thin, 0.001 inches. Now this right here is ready to cut. I can take this, I can send a PDF of this to my laser cutter, and I'll be good to go. We'll arrange it in a second. But now let's design the next box. Now this is a unique situation. Is when you deal with a square. When you deal with a square box, when you are dealing with a box like that of sort of even dimensions, you end up with a really interesting situation. I think this right here is the box that we were dealing with before. Same dimensions of it as we want. Again, we have to, you know, remove certain amounts of material, certain amounts of material. I can't talk today. What's happening? From, you know, specific areas. Of course, this has one short side. This right here has two short sides. You know, four short sides, two short sides, four short sides. And so we're going to do the same thing. I think I'm going to use the same. I can probably go ahead and use the same pieces here. Same tabs. And this is an interesting box. What I want from this box, I do want a top on this. However, I want the top to be removable easily. A few ways that you could do this. I use you could use magnets, you could put a hinge on it, you could do all sorts of things. But the simplest way to do it, the easiest way to do this, is to actually just remove. So we're going to add kerf, obviously, you know, compensate for the kerf for the laser cutter. But for the top, we're just not going to do that. Okay, and that's going to make one of the end pieces. I'm going to choose this piece right here to be the top and the bottom piece. That's going to make one of the end pieces just easily just pop on and off, you know, without the curve compensation. So let's get at it. Pretty much here I'm looking at this. I think that we're only going to use 2. Yeah, it looks like we should probably only use 2 units here for a pin and socket system. Let's delete that again. And now the really interesting way to design this is we can do some sort of rotation here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece right here. This is going to be a socket side, duplicate it, take it and rotate it. Very nice. Take it, let's center it on the horizontal axis, move it to the side, duplicate it, and move that to the side. Very nice. Let's duplicate that one, move that to the side, to the middle, move that to the bottom. And now, because I said no curve on the top, I'm just going to go ahead and use this original one. And let's change the color. Let's make it like a red. How about that? Good contrast. Let's go ahead and center it. Let's move it to the top. And I know I want that over here as well. And I want this over here as well. This right here, these have already been aligned, so I don't need to go ahead and realign those with each other. And now we're going to deal with, let's duplicate that instead. Now all we really need to do is do this one. Fairly simple. Move that to the outside, duplicate it, move that to the outside on the top. I can take this now, group it together. Actually, I don't need to group it together. Just take these guys, duplicate them, and rotate. And there we have it. Very, very nice. And we can take these guys again. Now let's group these together, duplicate them, and center them here. Very good. We're done. Okay. Oh, we're not done. I forgot. Did I remove this piece? Let's put that there. There we go. I was wondering what was wrong with that. We're done here. All we got to do now is do the same thing we did before to the other one. Let's extend these ends just a hair. And by the way, if you're brave and you don't want to do this, go for it and see if it works. Maybe it's my computer, maybe it's my version of the program or something. But sometimes, again, you'll have to, even when you do, even when they are aligned or aligned, you'll end up with, you know, little slices, and you'll slice off your pins, and that's no fun. So just to make sure that's not happening, we're just going to go ahead and extend. Do the extendo on here, and just like so, just like so. And yeah, now we're ready to rock and roll. Ungroup these guys, union that. Let's take these guys first, ungroup them, union, take these guys, subtract, boom. Take all these guys, ungroup, union. These guys right here, let's deselect the centerpiece, ungroup, union, subtract. Very nice. See how easy that was? It's a little bit easier dealing with regular sided shapes, with the cube especially. It's very easy to do. Now we'll take this again and duplicate this. Now the only thing to pay attention to here, let's say if I was to decorate this, let's say if I wanted to put like designer gem, that's not how we spell it, there we go. Let's change this font, let's make this like a, let's make this, actually, yeah, we'll keep it like that. Let's say I wanted to do this on this side. You're going to have to pay attention and understand that these this is not exactly regular. This top piece right here is different than this bottom piece. So when you're assembling it, you're gonna have to check to see the fit. And when you're assembling it, this top piece, when you try to, let's say, fit this piece right here into here, it's going to go in nice and easily. However, in this bottom area right here, it's going to be nice and tight. So then you'll know that this top piece right here is your is actually the top side of your thing, and you won't actually assemble it incorrectly. Just pay attention to that, okay? That's going to happen over here and here. And of course, when you're doing that, make sure that it's facing the right direction. So when you actually put your text or your graphic or whatever it is on here to, let's say, engrave or raster or whatever it may be, you're orienting it the right way. You don't have this guy like so. Now it's hard to tell, actually what's going on here. So you want to make sure that you're all good. All right. Now I think what I'm going to do is let's just go ahead and set this up for laser cutting, and that's going to be the end of our little video here. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm probably going to go ahead and render it in Fusion 360. I might do maybe artsy version of this, render it in Fusion 360 and make something cool. I'm thinking about like making a little dice out of here, little small box you can put random stuff in, and I think I'm gonna make it into some sort of cool dice. We'll see what happens. But yeah, let's go ahead and turn this guy. Let's not do that, and let's turn that white, or take away the fill color altogether. Make sure that stroke style, where that width is, that hairline on 0.001 inches. And it looks like it's pretty good here. I'm pretty happy with that. And yeah, that looks pretty good. What I'm going to do here though is I'm going to put that line just so we can flatten this piece if our piece is a little bit warped, especially since this is a sizable piece of material here. And what I'm going to do, this line going down to there, duplicate it, let's move over here, this line over here. By the way, can I fit anything over there? No, I can't. I was thinking I might be able to fit one of those pieces over here and reduce the actual size, the footprint of our thing, but it's not. I don't think it's gonna be worth it. Very nice, like so. And now let's take this guy, let's duplicate him, let's rotate that one, and let's just extend that length. Put that right there. And we're just going to pull this over here. That way, when this cuts, if it's warped, I can always send this cut file first, and we'll end up with a nice, easy to remove, and mostly flat, smaller pieces. Alright, smooth. Let's go ahead and take that stroke paint. We're going to turn it blue. And that stroke style again. Make it super, super thin. Very good. And let's go ahead and save this. We're going to save this. Saving my drive here, and projects, let's put it right here. Let's call it boxes, and let's save it as a PDF. Gotta save it as a PDF, and this is gonna be our laser cutting file. I think that works just like so. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Pretty happy indeed. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll have more tutorials coming up very soon. how to make a lot of other cool stuff. If you want to see those, if you want to learn how to use a laser cutter, how to design for laser cutting especially, and other things, 3D printing, CNC things, but especially laser cutting, that's what I really like to do. Subscribe. You know, I'll be posting a lot of great stuff. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It's always been, I love making stuff, and I love, you know, experimenting with new things. If you have anything that you think that I should be making, definitely drop it in those comments. And check out my shop, Vinci.com. We have some really cool laser cut products there. Check them out. See for yourself. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace.